Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Lookout. Today's the 21st of August. Talking about the Coyote Fire. Just doing a real quick update here because we're waiting on an Intel flight. They're actually flying it right now. Cal Fire's got their Intel ship up. Overnight, the fire was pretty active until about midnight. We were watching some IR last night, and fire was kind of active on the southern flank and the kind of southeast flank. Not very significant fire spread, but there was heavy fuel and the fire was chunking through it. Stopped watching it at about midnight, and they didn't get very strong winds overnight on the fire. The down canyon winds didn't really materialize. So I'm going to share a perimeter here of what we have right now, and it'll be updated a bit. This was last night, about 10:30. Fire hadn't grown a whole lot. It was like 560 acres or something like that. Okay, here's the Coyote Fire. It started down here on Harnum Creek. And yesterday it kind of ran up canyon, and it ran up and around Round Mountain. And so last night the fire was kind of most active on this flank. So if we zoom out here, we've got kind of distance rings here, and we got Shake Ridge Road and Lockwood over here. Lockwood being about 4 miles out. So not a lot of major spread overnight. But the fire was active on all flanks. Just to kind of give you guys a big picture, we got Fiddletown out here, Omo Ranch up here, and these are mile rings off the fire itself. So right now the fire's kind of capped with light smoke. It's really still out there. Fire's not. The fire is burning actively, but it's not like right now. It's not putting up a lot of smoke or spreading very rapidly. The areas to kind of watch today are this up canyon end, where the winds in the afternoon are going to want to move the fire up the canyon. The direction we're most concerned about the fire spreading is out to the southeast. Fire is going to want to run with the canyons here. Turn off some of these rings here. Over here we see the Caldor fire in blue, and black is dozer line that was put in during the Caldor fire. And I want to emphasize that the Caldor and this fire are much different beasts. And I don't have a lot of time to talk this morning. I've got an appointment coming up, but I will be back in kind of midday. But when we look at Caldor and how monstrous it got, what's important that's different about this fire is that right now our fuels are not nearly as dry and critically dry as they were during Caldor. During the Caldor fire, fuels were at what we say like the 97th percentile on dryness. And right now the fuels in Northern California have been kind of around average to below average dryness for this time of year. There's plenty of fuel out here for this fire with the heavy forest down in these canyons. Up on the ridge tops here, they have been thinned, and so that's going to help slow the spread of the fire, and it's also going to make retardant more effective. So you see these areas where there's it's lighter. You can see the red dirt. Those areas have been thinned by the forestry, by Sierra Pacific Industries. And so that's going to really help with retardant penetrating into these areas to help slow the spread of the fire there, to kind of support bulldozer work. And it's kind of the same over here. You can see these areas that have been thinned. So that's going to help. But the kind of linchpin on this fire, obviously, is the steep canyons and figuring out how to kind of connect the dots. Right now the fire has slopped over this ridge on the south side, which I think is Farnham Ridge. And so that what that means is they can't really get in there direct with dozers, and ideally they would have been able to put dozer line down this ridge, but because the fire is slopped down kind of over the ridge, that is not an option. And it's kind of heavy brush out in here. I don't know if it's like Mountain Misery or chamise, probably chamise, which is a pain. So dealing with this fire that's kind of mid-slope and backing down is, I don't know if they'll have crews on that, exactly what their strategy is there, but because the fire is over the ridge, that kind of removes that ridge as kind of the first option. There were some spot fires out ahead of the fire last night. So that's what we're watching today, is what this fire does as far as moving up the canyon. That's going to continue to be kind of the difficult part of the fire. Aircraft have been really effective in kind of slowing the less active flanks of the fire, but and we don't know really what ground crews have done overnight. So we will have some better intel coming up here. We'll do a broadcast kind of midday with updated infrared, but right now I just wanted to show what we call the ERC charts, energy release component. And basically this is kind of relative flammability of the landscape right now. And the red line is kind of the maximum values recorded since the year 2000. And we're right out in here. And so the green line is kind of the next week projected. And the blue line is where we are for the season. So right now you can see that for the season, we are right down here like this. Red line is like maximum values. And the Caldor fire happened under 97th percentile. So Caldor was happening kind of up in here, near the maximum values ever recorded, or in the last 20 years. And we're like way down like around the 70th percentile right now versus the 97th when Caldor happened. And we're forecast to come up to about the 90th percentile, which is, means that it's drier than all but 10% of the days for this time of year on record when you get up to the 90th. But 90th is still, 90th can give you extreme fire behavior, but, we get our biggest fires when we're up here in like the 97th and near the maximum values. So we're not going to expect to see this fire make runs like the Caldor did, just because we don't have those critically dry fuels. So just to keep that in mind, we look at like the Caldor and see like it was like one of the biggest fires we've had. This fire started a similar time of year and similar fuels, but overall kind of not nearly as critical fire environment. It's going to get hot and dry the next couple days. So this fire is still worth watching and paying attention to, but just for that kind of like big picture. 2021 was exceptionally dry. That's why we had the Million Acre Dixie Fire. That's why we had the Caldor Fire. We're not in those same fuel moisture conditions right now. Someone says, did I see the fire in Novato? Someone wants to see the URL for the ERCs. Okay, yeah, ERCs are here on the Predictive Services website, which is great website. You can check out all kinds of different slicing and dicing of fire hazard here on the North Ops, which is basically predictive services for Northern California. There's another one, predictive services for Southern California. This fire is kind of right on the boundary between North Ops and South Ops. And so there's not always the best kind of like reference. You got to pick like, was it the Northern Sierra? Is it Sac Foothills? You have to kind of read between the lines. But good site. We've talked about this. If you want to learn more about this stuff, check out our predicting fire season video that came out maybe in July. And that's about all we got right now. Like I said, we're waiting on an intel flight. We'll look real quick and see if it's been updated, but the plane's still in the air. We're kind of watching it orbit here, and don't know if we got a new perimeter yet. Looks like we do. All right, so this is useful. The inner perimeter here is last night at 10:30, and the outer perimeter is now. So let's just see if we can give that outer perimeter a different color. All right, so this basically shows you the overnight growth on the fire. Thank you, OES. You can see that there was kind of an island of unburned fuel last night. The fire was kind of making a little hook here. That's burned out. The fire hasn't really spread up canyon in the last 8 hours. And it hasn't moved significantly downhill on this kind of Farnham Ridge until you get a little farther down the ridge, and you can see it backed like maybe 100 yards downhill overnight off this ridge. One of the bigger areas of growth that was kind of visible last night was on this kind of, we're looking like north up here. And we said yesterday, we watched the air tankers painting this line yesterday afternoon, and we said that, like, yeah, it's going to slow the fire's growth, but the fire's still going to probably chew up that slope. So overnight, the fire did kind of run up and kind of ran out of slope here on the north, just north of the origin on his flank. So when I say 5% containment, you know, you can see that this area here around the heel did not grow from here to here, did not grow in the last 8 hours. Doesn't mean it's contained, but that's just good stuff to know. And also this whole kind of northern flank that they painted really heavily with retardant yesterday. This was the big focus yesterday. Across this stretch of the fire didn't grow overnight. So you had to kind of run that slope, and then it kind of ran out of gas when the slope abated. So overall, like, a lot of the fire's looking pretty good. A lot of questions about why they didn't call bigger tankers yesterday. But when you look at this terrain, you know, the little tankers definitely have their place, and their place is in tight, steep terrain. And so, you know, that's what we were saying yesterday, is that oftentimes AirTech, they're not going to call in the VLATs because you're not going to get a DC-10 or, you know, one of the big heavy Type 1 tankers. In such tight country, you know, they can't make such steep climbs in and out. And so those S2s are really, as we talked about, they're really amazing for initial attack in difficult country. So that's the morning perimeter. It's good news. We'll have something, we'll probably, unless the fire's really blowing up, we probably won't stream again until tonight at about 5. So thanks everyone. Thanks to our sponsors. Didn't get their ad in here, which I guess I need to do. And someone didn't like the music yesterday, but music, I don't drink coffee, so I have to use music instead.
And it looks like that's what I'm gonna get. I feel I need something. Taking my time and to help forget about everything. Too much things running around in my brain, so come on, sweetness. Won't you help to ease the pain?
The person who just joined, we're wrapping it up. Just go back and watch from the beginning, and you'll get the skinny. We're jumping out, but thanks everyone, and keep you posted.
I guess I do want something, but I can't seem to find it yet. Sometimes I feel like I'm nothing. You say I'm nothing you could ever forget. Well, that's just one thing. You said they could